Hi, I'm Angus Kress Gillespie, your host for Old Ways in New Jersey. I'm here today with Nick Selitto, the winemaker for Brook Hollow Winery. It's a family farm winery overlooking the Delaware Water Gap in Warren County, New Jersey. The winery was started by owner and winemaker Paul Ritter. What started out as a hobby in the basement and a few grapevines in the front yard, it quickly grew to be a real winery with the grand opening celebration back in 2013. Interestingly enough, a New Jersey farm winery license was obtained requiring that all the wine be made from New Jersey-grown fruit. Recently, I participated in a tank room tasting at Brook Hollow hosted by Nick Selitto, and it was a wonderful experience. So it's my pleasure to welcome him to our studio today. So Nick, tell me, how did you get into the wine industry and how's your wine career developed over time?
It's a bit of an unusual start. I actually was going to school at the time for neuroscience, psychology, Drew University. Everybody got sent home during COVID, so I was in town.
Madison, New Jersey.
Yes, correct. Yep. And everybody was just doing college in their basement at the time, so I was looking for something extra to do. I knew the winery down the street was just reopening, so kind of was more looking for just some vineyard work, nothing really behind the bar, but they let me know they needed bartenders. I had just turned 21 a couple months before that, maybe tried one once or twice in my life, but I was like, you know what, this is probably something I could fake and get somewhere with it, and it just turned into something that I loved. I had a great team behind me at the winery, so very, very happy to end up where I did.
And what are your current responsibilities at Brook Hollow Winery?
I do the majority of the winemaking under the owner, Paul. I also kind of do just general management with the tasting room, and honestly, depending on the day, it could be a full day in the vineyard, it could be bussing tables at an event, it could be just down below working on the wine in the tank, so it's always exciting. It's always something new.
And what grape varieties do you use?
We use mostly either New York or Minnesota hybrids that we grow in our vineyard. We are a farm winery, so we do grow a large amount of what we use to produce our wine. The grapes that we don't grow on site are a lot of vinifera grapes like Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay. We also do Riesling.
What is the soil type?
It's very sandy, and it's a little bit different. We have actually two vineyards located just directly across the street from each other. The soil is a bit different, and how the cold actually settles in the vineyard is different. So, believe it or not, we'll have the same variety planted on both sides of the street. You can stand in one, throw a baseball, and it'll land in the other. And there's like a 10-day ripening difference in the same variety just across the street.
And what are the challenges of North Jersey wineries?
I would say a challenge, especially for farm wineries like ourselves, is making sure what you're growing is right for where we are. A lot of what we grow, when it goes dormant for the winter, it's hardy down to -25, -30 degrees. A lot of vinifera grapes do not love North Jersey winters. And one thing
it's a challenge.
It is, yep, for grapevines in general. And even with these varieties, you have to watch out for late, or spring frosts that can just wipe you out, which unfortunately we've had happen, but so far this year's looking pretty good.
So let's talk a little bit about your wines in general. Let's start with Cayuga White from 2020.
Yes. So Cayuga White, this is one of our estate wines. This is a wine that we produce that is completely made from grapes that we grow on our property. It's named after Lake Cayuga. It is native to the Finger Lakes. You can find them a ton around New York, but this is a very dry style Cayuga. They tend to be a little bit sweeter around the Finger Lakes, as I've seen. The Cayuga is a hybrid grape, though, as I mentioned, so we really have no issue growing it in our vineyard. The tasting notes are very much kind of like a green apple forward. It's, again, very dry, so it does have a nice, crisp, kind of acidic finish to it. Really, really nice in the summertime. That's definitely when this shines.
And food accompaniment, what would you...
Anything that's light. You can do fish with this, something with maybe...
That sounds good.
Yep, even a little bit of spice to it. Not to something too heavy, but the acidity, the crispness really helps balance something like that out.
So let's move on. How about Diamond 2021?
Yes. This is a somewhat newer addition for us. We actually just planted last year another 300 vines of this. This is another estate wine grown completely on our property. Diamond is another New York hybrid, but it's a little bit older. It's been around since the 1850s, related to Concord, and it shares a lot of those characteristics. It's big, it's juicy. You pour this in a glass, and it's just, the floral aroma just jumps out at you. It's nice because even when you're walking in the vineyard, the grapes themselves smell just like a glass of juice. It's very nice, yeah.
And what about Cabernet Sauvignon 2019?
Yes, this is one of our grapes that we do get from South Jersey. We do two styles of Cabernet. We do a reserve and a non-reserve. Both are made in stainless steel, so not the traditional oak cask or barrel that you usually see with red wines. We do, though, with both of our Cabernet Sauvignons, add both an American oak chip and a toasted French oak powder as well.
Wow. And what about Cabernet Franc 2018?
This is something that's kind of unique to the area. You find Cabernet Francs grown all over the world, the West Coast, over in Europe, but for some reason there's something about the East Coast, and even kind of more specifically the tri-state area, weirdly enough, that this grape just grows excellent. It always makes something that's very well-rounded in the tasting room. It's very enjoyable, vintage after vintage, and it's a varietal, so there's nothing else blended with this. You usually find this in Bordeaux blends.
And what about food accompaniment on this? What would you suggest?
This would definitely be anything red meat. I mean, even from burgers, honestly, it doesn't have to be anything too fancy, but especially, nice peppery steak would also go really well with this.
Okay, let's move on. Cabernet Sauvignon Reserve 2019.
So this is different from the previous Cabernet Sauvignon in that every reserve that we do, which actually some people might be surprised, the term reserve actually doesn't have a real definition in the United States. You can kind of choose what your reserve wines are going to be. So for us, what that means is it's matured a little bit older than its non-reserve counterpart, at least by 1 year. It also is going to have a little bit more material and kind of time spent working on it. So,
in Europe, if they say reserve, does it have a special meaning?
Yeah, and even depending on the country. So in some countries, it's going to be tied to a length of aging time before it goes in a bottle. Could be a certain process of making it, or even a restriction on quantity, so you can only produce a certain volume.
Yeah.
Oh, most of the time it is. Yeah. Over here, it's just kind of the Wild West.
So, but you try to be honest. It's different.
Absolutely. Yes. If we put reserve on a label, we like to be able to explain why we think of it as reserve.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, we can put that back, and we'll move on with some more general questions.
Sure.
What is Nick? What is your winemaking philosophy?
Yeah, I think just from how I kind of got into the role, which was all just kind of studying under the winemaker and owner of Brook Hollow, Paul. He is extremely knowledgeable, not only in the kind of solid scientific foundation in winemaking, but the art side of it as well. We have a sign that's up in the winery that says wine is the only art you can drink. I believe that.
I like that.
Yeah, I believe that. I think that it's definitely something that you need to be very kind of in the lines with as far as some aspects of the winemaking, but what ends up in your glass is very much up to the influence of the person making it. So there's definitely some art to it. That's also why some people might like something and other people's are like, get that away from me. I'm not a fan of that.
And can you tell us about the different stages all the way going from harvesting to bottling?
Absolutely, which we at the winery, since we are a farm winery, luckily we get to have our hands on every part of the process. We planted our vineyard in 2006 originally. Everything that we do harvest-wise is actually done through volunteers. So we open it up, just friends, family of the winery can come down when it's harvest time. They help the guys who are there constantly. That's Al and Kyle, John. Those are the guys that do all the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Do you ever use high schoolers in the harvesting?
We haven't. I know other vineyards that do.
Yeah.
Luckily, we've just had enough people that just come to the winery and kind of have offered to help and come back year after year too, which we're very thankful for. So,
do you have a club per se?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of an unofficial club, definitely. But after a while, you start to see the same faces returning, and everybody kind of, makes a connection and relationship. But we will usually just post on Facebook, mention it in the winery when it's going to be close to harvest time, and anybody who's interested can come down.
And you can reach out to those folks when you need them.
Absolutely, yes, and we do. Yep.
Yeah.
So we do all of our picking through them again. when we pick, we immediately go into destemming, crushing, and pressing. So everything will be brought out of the vineyard. Usually we'll load it up in the tractor, bring it up to our crush pad. I'll usually be kind of manning that station while everybody's out in the vineyard. And we do everything on site. We do all the maceration, aging on the skins, until the wine is ready down the line to be bottled.
And tell me a little bit more about the fermentation process.
Yeah. So with our whites, what we'll do is we'll pick them. They'll come out of the vineyard. They will immediately go through the crusher. So it'll be a combination, a mixture of skins, seeds, and grapes. With white wines, you'll press that immediately and you'll collect the juice, but you'll discard the skins and the seeds. White wines, generally, you do not want skins and seeds because that's where you get a lot of tannin. With red wines, though, what we'll do is we'll put them through the crusher. Instead of pressing it immediately to just get the juice, you'll actually add the yeast on top of all of it. So it's skins, seeds, juice. It's called must at that point. And usually it'll be a week, 10 days. You do a maceration process, which somebody will go down at least twice a day. It's a big stainless steel rod I use with, looks like a shower drain on the end. It's a steel plate with a bunch of holes, and you just constantly mix it up. Over that time, the color, the tannin, a lot of the components that you want in reds will leach out of those skins and seeds, make its way into the wine, and then into the bottle.
The color's in the skin.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people are surprised to find out that red grapes do not have red juice. Yeah, it's white or clear, just like white grapes.
Yeah. Tell me, in the past, whenever you had a serious problem and how you worked through it. And an example.
So going back to our vineyard, that's something that is kind of a unique challenge because depending on the weather, there's really some things that you can't control. 2 years ago, it was around Mother's Day. We had a very late frost when stuff had already started to sprout. There was leaves, there was new canes.
Terrible.
Yeah, and we lost about 50% of the harvest that year on the one side of the road, which when a lot of what you're making is coming from your property, that's a pretty big hit. So the subsequent 2 years, so far we've been looking pretty good. But another issue that we had.
But how did you solve that problem with the shortfall?
That's something that you can't solve. That's one of those issues where me and the owner, we come in the morning, you stand up at the taste room looking down at everything as it's dying, and you just shed a tear and hope that next year you're luckier.
You can't just buy the grapes from elsewhere.
No, you can, for us, we're allowed to buy grapes as long as they're grown in New Jersey, but that can't exceed a certain percentage of what we make. So
But that's in the law.
Correct, yep, under our farm license. Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot of little tricky legal restrictions.
It is, yes, definitely, yep.
And tell me more about your quality control checks during the process.
So every time that we're going to be picking something, I'll usually go out and look for three things in the grapes before they come off the vine. Usually I'll be looking at Brix, which is the sugars in the grape that will determine what the final alcohol will be. That's the biggest thing we look for before we harvest. There's also the component of TA, which is a type of acidity in the grape, and pH. Those are kind of the three things. So
What's TH?
TA is titratable acidity, and pH is potential hydrogen. It all has to do with alcohol, stability, and making sure that you have a wine that's going to taste good.
And what factors do you consider in terms of harvest timing? You don't want to be too soon, you don't want to be too late.
Yeah, it's mostly when those three components come as closely into the window that we're looking for. So you're never going to have a variety that is perfect Brix, perfect TA, perfect pH. But once those kind of come in the closest window as kind of they can get, that's when we say, okay, let's put the call out, get everybody that wants to come and volunteer out there, and we start picking.
And we touched on this briefly before, but the unique challenges of North Jersey as a region.
Yes, yeah. So I mentioned a lot of what we grow are hybrids, either from New York or Minnesota. That is because our winters can get pretty cold. For vinifera grapes, European varieties like the Cabernets, they usually are very thin-skinned. They're not as cold hardy. They might be more susceptible to powdery, downy mildew that we have in the region. So all of those things come into play when you're deciding what to plant when, again, you're very tied to what you can produce. So What we grow is very vigorous. It grows like a weed, some of the varieties, which is also a downside for management. You're always out there, pretty much from when the first leaf sprouts until the grapes are picked.
You have to prune them somehow?
Constantly. Yep, constantly.
Oh, because the roots can only support so many grapes.
That's right. Yep. So you want to be directing all of the sugars, the starches, everything to the fruit clusters. You don't want to go into all this kind of superfluous canes and leaves. Yep.
Yeah. What's one of the hardest things about making wine year after year?
Well, one would definitely be what you can get. So out of the vineyard, when you're making wine, generally, if it's a white, unless it's a Nouveau, you're going to be looking at 2 years aging a wine in bulk in a tank before it ever goes into a bottle, 2 to 3 years. Reds, you're more on the timeline of 3 to 5 years.
So there's a delay.
Yes, a couple of years delay, yeah. So going back to our example of a couple of years ago when we had that really bad frost, that impact as far as losing all of that fruit actually won't be seen on our shelf maybe until another 2-3 years. So you're kind of trying to plan ahead, trying to fill gaps then with the subsequent year, but you're always thinking years in advance as far as what you're providing. Yep.
And on the other hand, what's one of the most rewarding things about the job?
So I'm very lucky in that it's a business where I'm able to kind of have my hands on everything. So I like that during the week, I work on the wine, I work in the vineyard, and then on the weekends, I get to go up and actually, as we did, I get to do tastings. That allows me to get, one, great feedback on everything that we're putting out. It's directly to me. I can bring that to the owner as well, and we can kind of use that to shift anything if we need down the line, or keep doing something that's getting good reviews. But just the fact that I'm able to serve the wine and kind of have the connection of what we are producing with the people who are enjoying it. So,
and what would you tell our listeners about the difference between the wine tasting room and the tank tasting room?
Yes. So every day.
Explain that.
Yep. We're open year-round, every day of the week, and anytime you decide to join us, you will be able to do either a flight, which is 4 wines, 2-ounce pours.
I like the 2-ounce pour. Gives you a decent chance to evaluate.
Exactly. Yep. We used to do just smaller 1-ounce pours, but decided it's just not enough. You need a little bit more to get a true kind of opinion on a wine.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's been something that's definitely been pretty popular because we have these beautiful grounds that overlook the vineyard. You can take your flight outside. You can just sit in the grass and enjoy it. We usually have live music.
If I remember correctly, you look down towards the river.
Yes, it's the water gap that's in the background. It really is a beautiful view.
So we're talking about extreme northwest.
Yes,
New Jersey.
We are 2 minutes from the Pennsylvania border. Yeah, we are right. Some people actually don't even know that they're in Jersey when they come to us. They're like, "Wait, we're not in Pennsylvania."
I remember sitting there and looking down, and that I see the trees. I don't see the river, but I know the river's got to be behind those trees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great location, and if you do again come, you can enjoy the view. You can have a flight. We also, as you mentioned, do a premium tasting, is what we call it. That is in our former production room. There's still, as you saw, tanks that are being used every day that are up there, but the bulk of our winemaking production has kind of gone into a separate building now. But if you decide to join us and do a premium tasting, you get a personal charcuterie board, everybody who is doing the tasting. It's about 8 wines, but I'll be honest, usually it ends up being closer to 9 or 10. There's always something that usually gets added in, depending on the preference of the people doing the tasting. And that's right surrounded by all the wine, the tanks. We can kind of go through and kind of show people the process of how it's all made. So much more informative and hands-on and kind of drawn out, definitely.
Tell me, can you update us a little bit about current trends in the wine industry?
Yeah. Well, actually, as we were saying before, I've kind of heard a little bit more about fruit wines becoming a little bit more popular, definitely outside of New Jersey, down south. You can also find them up north, actually. But we have only ever done one fruit wine. We've done a cranberry raspberry wine because, of course, if you're going to do a fruit wine from New Jersey, it's got to be a cranberry wine.
Yeah.
And that's one that we actually do several styles of. So we do sparkling wine, we do a dessert wine, table wine. I make it into wine slushies. It's definitely been becoming more of a usual thing to see fruit wines around.
Yeah. And And what about the younger people? They're not coming to wineries as often.
Yeah. Generally, we do see it skewed a little bit older, outside of the 21 to maybe 28 range. You don't see outside of weekends or if we have live music, but the bulk of the people who come to visit us, just on their afternoon or something, typically are just a couple or a family that are just looking for somewhere to have a nice bottle of wine and hang out.
And I guess it's not really your domain, but what about special events?
Yeah. So we actually, for us at the winery, we try to always have something going on. So we do annual clam bakes, fish fries, pig roasts, and on my side of things, I do a couple winemaking classes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's funny because originally we had kind of set up the classes to just be, you get the equipment, you get the juice, we walk you through the process, you get 30 bottles of wine that you make yourself, kind of with our guidance, and then you go off and you have the equipment. If you want to do it on your own, you can do it there, but people keep coming back. They keep signing up for the class again, so it must be something pretty fun.
And what about music?
Yeah, we do music definitely every weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We have music on Fridays as well. Sometimes for events too, we'll actually have two separate bands playing across the street from each other. Times like that, we like to try and do food trucks and have some long games out. Try and make it pretty fun for everybody.
And what about private events?
Yes, we have a beautiful event hall right across the street.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yep. It's right across from the tasting room. We sometimes in the winter will move our tasting room operations over there just for a little bit more room when the weddings usually slow down. But we hold everything from weddings to just corporate parties, birthdays, bridal showers. I mean, really, you name it, we can hold it.
And that helps with the business side.
Absolutely. Yep.
We talked about 6 wines or so a moment ago, but tell me, what is one that you're particularly proud of?
So one that I actually brought that is kind of new for us is our first sparkling wine that we've done. This is with a variety that I mentioned earlier, Diamond. This is not made in the traditional champagne style. This isn't an in-the-bottle fermentation method. This is actually just made using injected CO2. Yes, it goes in a kegerator.
And it has a different label.
It does, yep. I know, which is rare for us. We like to stick to the same label, but I had to switch it up for the sparkling wine. But it's something we're definitely going to continue to do.
Yeah. And what do you see as the future of wine industry in New Jersey?
I think that the future, hopefully, is a little bit more lax as far as what we can do.
In terms of regulations?
Correct, yes. One of the downsides of being a New Jersey winery is we are only able to sell wine. Of course, everybody who comes through our door is not going to be a wine drinker. We try to have something for even the non-wine drinkers, and usually we can find something that they enjoy as well. But that is something that's kind of unique to New Jersey and a couple other states where you're not even able to offer other types of either beer, distilled anything.
Coffee.
We started doing coffee. Oh gosh, I hope there's no regulations against that. I haven't checked, but other than just the wine, it would be very beneficial if we could start producing other types of things that would be broader for the people that are coming in to see us. But for now, it looks like it's going to be just wine for a while.
Are you allowed to sell food?
We are. Yep, we are allowed to sell food. We do have food trucks that we do because we don't have, as of right now, a kitchen on the site. But we're still able to do just kind of with our smaller kitchen, not a full kitchen. Cheese boards, we kind of have grab-and-go stuff that we try to offer every day. But yeah, the food is something that we're definitely trying to look into too.
Yeah, maybe even a pizzeria.
Yes, yeah. It's nice because we actually have a couple places just right down the road in town who they kind of know us now when people call from us, and they'll walk right into the taste room with whatever they're delivering as far as food. So
and that's perfectly legal.
Absolutely. Yep.
And can you drink the wine tasting outdoors?
Yes.
That's allowed.
Absolutely. Yep. And actually, this time of year, going into kind of late summer into early fall, this is one of the best times to visit because You can have your flight, you can have a glass of wine, you can walk right along the vineyard. You have the beautiful water gap in the back. It's a very nice time to visit, definitely.
So Nick, I want to thank you for appearing here on East Brunswick Television, sharing your knowledge about Brook Hollow Winery, way up there northwest in Warren County. Thanks so much for coming out.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Thank you.